Industrial Age. The Industrial Age spans those born between 1800 and 1900. They grew up in a world of factories, railroads, and early technological revolutions. Picture someone working 12 hours in a coal factory, hands calloused. Living in that era was tough, but it forged a mindset of resilience and sacrifice. Progress wasn't a dream, it was a machine that never stopped. These people witnessed the birth of modernity, from the telegraph to the first light bulbs. Their lives were defined by manual labor and strict discipline. Many knew no rest. Sunday was their only weekly respite. Poverty was common, and life expectancy barely reached 40. Despite the hardships, their efforts laid the foundation for industrial society. They were pragmatic, focused on surviving in a world of rapid change. Family was their refuge, though they often lived crowded in small homes. Their legacy is the infrastructure we still use: bridges, trains, cities. They didn't seek fame, just a wage to feed their own. Without them, the modern world wouldn't have taken its first steps. Lost Generation. The Lost Generation was born between 1883 and 1900. They lived through World War I and the disillusionment of a broken world. Imagine a young soldier writing poetry in the trenches, searching for meaning. The loss of ideals shaped them, but it also made them creative and rebellious. They were the ones looking at the sky, wondering if it was worth carrying on. Many returned from war with deep physical and emotional scars. The literature and art of the era reflect their struggle to find purpose. They were the first to question their parents' old traditions. Parisian cafes and speakeasies were their havens for debating ideas. The 1918 influenza decimated many of their friends, yet their creativity gave rise to modernism and jazz. They didn't trust governments, but believed in individual freedom. Their stories, like Hemingway's, captured their restless spirit. They were dreamers trapped in a world they didn't fully understand. Their rebellion inspired the generations that followed. Greatest Generation. The Greatest Generation was born between 1900 and 1927. They faced the Great Depression and World War II with stoicism. Picture a mother rationing food while her husband fights on the front lines. Their life was a constant, do what needs to be done without complaint. If the world was collapsing, they built shelters with their own hands. They grew up in times of scarcity where every penny was carefully saved. Discipline was their compass. Emotions were saved for better times. Many worked as children, selling newspapers or cleaning houses. The war taught them to value community and collective effort. Their victories, like D-Day, changed the course of history. They didn't seek heroes, but they became them out of necessity. The post-war era gave them stability, but they never forgot the hardships. Their loyalty to institutions was unwavering, almost like a vow. They believed in hard work as the key to a dignified life. Their strength reminds us that resilience can move mountains. Silent Generation. The Silent Generation was born between 1928 and 1945. They grew up in the post-war era, valuing stability and social order. Imagine a gray-suited office worker coming home at 5 sharp. They sought security, but sometimes felt their dreams took a backseat. Conformity wasn't cowardice, it was their way of keeping the peace. They lived through the rise of suburbs and structured family life. Television entered their homes, showing a world in reconstruction. Many worked stable jobs in banks or modern factories. The Cold War taught them to live with the fear of nuclear conflict. They were loyal to their companies, expecting a solid pension at retirement. Their values revolved around family, duty, and community. They didn't seek fame, just a predictable, steady life. Sinatra's music and Hollywood films were their escape. Though quiet, their steady work sustained economic growth. Their silence wasn't empty, it was a way to protect what they'd earned. Baby Boomers. The Baby Boomers were born between 1946 and 1964. They lived through economic prosperity and the cultural rebellion of the 60s. Picture a young person at a rock concert dreaming of changing the world. Their optimism took them far, but it also made them cling to material success. They believe hard work always brings rewards, and they're not entirely wrong. They grew up with the promise of a better future, and many fulfilled it. College education became more accessible, opening new doors. They protested for civil rights and against the Vietnam War. Consumerism defined their lifestyle: big houses, new cars. Yet they faced divorces and social changes that unsettled them. The Beatles and Woodstock marked their rebellious youth. Many became leaders of modern corporations. Their faith in progress sometimes blinded them to environmental issues. They're criticized for selfishness, but also built much of what we use. Their legacy is a freer but more complex world. Generation X. Generation X was born between 1965 and 1980. They grew up amid divorces, economic crises, and technological shifts. Imagine a teen with a Walkman watching MTV while doubting the future. They're cynical but adaptable, always seeking balance between work and life. If the world didn't give them answers, they learned to invent them. They were the first to use personal computers at home. Grunge and indie films reflected their skeptical attitude. Many grew up as latchkey kids, alone while their parents worked. The 1980s recession forced them to be entrepreneurial out of necessity. They value independence but crave authentic connections. The internet arrived in their adulthood, changing how they work. They don't blindly trust institutions but know how to navigate them. They created startup culture and flexible work. Their ironic humor is their weapon against an unpredictable world. They're the bridge between analog and digital, and they know it. Millennials. Millennials were born between 1981 and 1996. They grew up with the internet, financial crises, and a search for personal purpose. Picture someone working in a cafe with a laptop and dreams of starting a business. They value authenticity but often feel pressured to have it all. They're called lazy, but no one works harder for causes they believe in. They faced unemployment after the 2008 crisis. Social media shaped how they connect with others. Many delayed marriage and homeownership due to student debt. They seek jobs with meaning, not just a monthly paycheck. Climate change and social justice are their main causes. They sometimes feel trapped between expectations and economic reality. They created the gig economy, from Uber to freelance work. Their meme humor is how they cope with uncertainty. They're criticized for being soft, but they face a tougher world than many. Their idealism drives them to redefine what success means. Generation Z. Generation Z was born between 1997 and 2012. They're digital natives raised with social media and an uncertain world. Imagine a teen making TikTok videos while debating climate change. They live fast, but their anxiety reflects a world that never stops spinning. They don't trust institutions, but are ready to change them from within. They grew up with instant access to information and misinformation. Diversity is their norm. They defend inclusion without hesitation. Their favorite careers are in tech, content creation, or activism. The pandemic marked their youth, forcing them to adapt quickly. They value mental health and talk about it without taboos. Their memes and trends dominate global pop culture. They're entrepreneurial but prefer projects with social impact. Artificial intelligence is just another tool in their toolbox. Though young, they're already rewriting the rules of work. Their challenge is finding stability in a shaky world. Generation Alpha. Generation Alpha was born between 2013 and 2025. They're growing up with AI, touchscreens, and a planet in transition. Picture a child learning math on a tablet in a virtual classroom. They're curious and tech-savvy, but face a future full of questions. No one knows what their world will be like, but they're already shaping it. Generation Future. Generation Future will be born after 2025. They'll grow up in a world shaped by AI and climate change. Imagine a child interacting with a hologram as if it's their best friend. Their lives will be defined by technology, but also the need to adapt. Will they save the planet or live on another? Only time will tell. From the industrial age to Generation Future, each group has faced unique challenges. The industrial age worked tirelessly, the lost generation dreamed amid war, the greatest generation endured crises, the silent generation sought stability, boomers chased dreams, Generation X found their own path, millennials sought purpose, Gen Z changed the rules, Alpha grows with tech, and the future will face the unknown. The world changes, but each generation leaves its mark, shaping the future in its own way. Follow the channel for more maps of the world and its stories.